We need it because we don't want that. Those emotions that, are being set loose or being activated, you don't want that in your body. So we need an outlet. Whether you're happy or sad or angry or whatever emotion, we need an outlet. And too often we focus only on the happy emotions and not the sad emotions or maybe the things that we label as negative. We don't create space for that to be there as well.
You can go to war with a heart at peace, and you can go for what you want and what you care about and stand for it and take no shit, and yet have a heart at peace, yet see other people as people, see yourself as creative, have a heart. You can go to war and still be kind. And I believe that is essential, because otherwise you create more of what you don't want. And this is about creating more of what we do want.
You're listening to the Global Inclusion in Practice podcast, sharing the stories of DEI changemakers around the world. Vivian Acquah and Marjolijn Vlug bring you behind-the-scenes stories and kitchen table conversations about the personal perspectives of DEI professionals, representatives, advocates, and allies, talking about what matters in this work and what sustains us in creating lasting change. There are many of us working on creating a more inclusive world. Let's share our stories. We're in this together.
Hi, Vivian.
Hi, Marjolijn.
Hello. This is our season end recording, the last episode of season 2 of the Global Inclusion in Practice podcast. Don't cry. It's going to be a good episode. And it was a really good season, thanks to the wide variety of our guests. We'd like to share some lessons learned and also take stock of what's going on in the world right now in the space of diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, justice, accessibility, thanks to very good guests we had. A lot has happened, but let's start with us again. Who are you right now in this point of time, in work, in private?
Yes.
Introduce yourself.
Who am I? I feel like with everything that's happening, I am reinventing myself, but I will disclose. So my name is Vivian Acquah. I'm born and raised in Amsterdam, Ghanaian roots, proud mother of Orlando, who is basically the starting point of my journey, of my diversity, equity, and inclusion journey. I call myself the certified inclusion strategist or the certified inclusive or DEI consultant, whatever title you want, that's me. Helping out different organizations and managers with creating an inclusive space so that everybody feels welcome and that we can create magic together, that we can create high-performing teams, but also that we can amplify workplace engagement, employee engagement, and eventually also retain talent as well. Marjolijn, who are you?
I'm Marjolijn Vlug. I am a Dutch cishet woman. I live in Amsterdam. I am a coach, an inclusive coach, mainly work one-on-one on career topics and diversity, equity, inclusion topics within the coaching space, and also supporting people doing DEI work. I have 2 kids. They're in school right now, luckily, so no background noise. And I am on a leadership journey to take more leadership around the things that I believe in, including mainly inclusion, belonging, aliveness. Don't forget aliveness. And this podcast is close to my heart. This is one of my leadership projects, one of my quests, as we call it. So right now, I'm also your podcast host.
You forgot to mention, and I think I forgot to mention also, we collaborate a lot together. So we have been co-facilitating different workshops when it comes to inclusion, helping out different clients, whether it's virtually or whether it's physical abroad, right? So last year we went to Geneva, where we helped out a client who was in the retail and consuming foods industry to help the leaders with supporting and sponsoring the female leaders within their company as well. So that was exciting. That was my girly trip, or my girl man's trip with Marjolijn.
We didn't have a bromance, we had a girl man's.
No, we had a girl man's.
The rose garden. Yeah, and in the Netherlands as well, in different types of spaces, from highbrow to lowbrow, from factories to universities, bringing people and experience and insight into inclusion and what that really means. And what I love about working with you is, well, that you're really knowledgeable about this and really thorough and thoughtful in what you present and how you lead groups. But also how much fun it is to work with you.
Now I'm blushing.
Well, luckily we're also recording video right now.
Yes, exactly.
You
still can see it.
You can see it. But that's really, it's good stuff. And it's also just really fun. And maybe you'll get that when you listen to this episode. It's the vibe that we create together that informs a safe space.
Definitely.
Positive approach and a positive attitude and positive stance in this growth for everyone.
Definitely. And also what I like about collaborating with you is you are bringing, you are adding on to what I bring, or you bring so much value and put on your coach skills or your coach suit on, where you support them, but also share different insights from your lens, right? So I love that we are two different women, different backgrounds, living in Amsterdam, but we come with a supportive approach. We are not here to judge you. We listen and we don't judge, right? Like the TikTok trend, we listen and we don't judge. But also we want to be able to provide different recipes that work for your company and co-collaborate with you. It's not us creating that recipe. No, we are collaborating with you to create that inclusive recipe that works well within your team or within your organization as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's about what works here for these people. Sometimes that is sharing my experience as an individual, as a person, to elucidate that. And always that is about what works for the human beings right here in this group. What are their stories, what are their perspectives, and what's their context?
Definitely.
Context. And that's, and the nice thing about both our backgrounds in coaching is that it allows us to adjust, to listen, to pick that up, and to interact with that.
Definitely. So as you can hear, this season ending episode is a little bit different, but we decided to do it different than the script versions that we have done in the past before, because a lot has happened since we launched season 2. So we want to be able to dive in the different topics that came up during our launch. But also we want to make sure that you, as a future change maker, inclusion change maker, or current inclusive change maker, or maybe past inclusive change maker, that you feel supported, that you feel like this podcast or this episode is your oxygen for the work that you're doing, that you feel the love, and that you can learn from so many other change makers who are doing similar work like yours, right? We are here, in the end, we are here to create the inclusive environment where everybody thrives. It's not about only supporting Black people or only supporting the Latinx or only supporting those who are neurodivergent. We want to make sure that we interview different guests so that you get different insights from different people, because they are the base of our title is Global Inclusion in Practice. So we will do our best to keep challenging ourselves to invite and interview different inclusive change makers to amplify global inclusion in practice.
Yeah, this is global, and this is about connecting across distances, across areas and fields, across experiences. The connection is the thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
And we had a really good range of guests that crossed that. Some people had completely contradictory perspectives from one episode to the next. And that's your opportunity to take all of that in and learn, and connect with all of that. That's diversity. Let's show up for it.
Yeah. And I wanna reiterate what Alicia Keys said during her acceptance speech during the awards. I think it was the Grammys, where she said DEI is a gift and not a threat. So let's start with this episode. We already started, but I wanted to start with the question. So what's one impactful thing that you would like our listeners to know about you?
That what I believe is essential is that we are human beings with a heart in inclusion, in change making. You're a person with all the benefits and all the responsibilities that brings. And everyone you work with is a human being too. And it's good to see people as that and have that heart, and let your heart bring joy. Let your heart bring curiosity. Let your heart bring connection. Let your heart sometimes bring no. From the heart, from love. Because it's the truth. And recognizing that we're all in this together, wherever we are and whatever our position is. That's belonging. Yeah, that's one impactful thing that I truly believe in. What do we need to? Yeah, thank you. What do we need to know about you? What is an impactful thing that you're bringing in for?
I mean, it's hard to choose from just one thing, but let's say the impact. No. I will make a choice. I'm gonna bring it personal, because what you just shared right now is something that I can totally connect with all the different change makers that are listening to our podcast. So I definitely want to reiterate that, but I also want to bring a personal thing. Maybe you don't know this, or maybe the listeners do know this, that I had a bike accident almost 2 years ago, where I fractured my ankle. And the journey that it has given me as a neurodivergent individual dealing with change within your body, relearning the boundaries of your body, of yourself, but also becoming a woman who's also activated her perimenopause as well. The biggest impact would be the changes that these life changes have changed me, have created a huge impact on me, and also being vocal about this topic as well. Because too often we don't talk about this. And again, it wouldn't be just of me to only talk about the happy stuff, right? I also need to share the challenges that I face. And it is still in somewhat way a challenge, but I'm getting better. I'm walking better. I am enjoying life so much better. So that's what I want to share as an answer.
Enjoying life more too.
Say more about that. Definitely.
Say more about that.
Yeah.
Say more about that.
Let's say that I've been more kind to myself, to let myself enjoy more, whether it's music, whether it's exercise, whether it's going on a trip. I had the privilege to travel to different countries, the US, go to different places like Barcelona or even Geneva. And I made a commitment with myself that when I'm outside, whether it's also in the Netherlands, I want to make space to enjoy myself and to honor that I'm outside, that the sun is shining, luckily, finally now in the Netherlands.
This week, yes.
But I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it.
That is everything.
Yeah. You only have one life, right? So
that's aliveness. That's my word.
Yeah. So, season 2.
How was it?
That's a big thing. That's a big thing of season 2, because season 2, we had different guest speakers. But what surprised me was that let's say not all the majority of the guests, but let's say we tapped into a little bit of neurodiversity, but also a lot of accessibility as well.
Yep.
We had amazing conversation with people from different continents, different roots. And every time that we talk to, or at least every time that I talk to a different person, it expands my lens in a different way. How was it for you?
Yeah, it expands my lens. It seeing for the duration of the episode and everything that sticks after, really seeing things in additional ways, even contradictory ways, and holding that.
And what do you mean with contradictory ways? Because now I'm intrigued, and I think that people are also intrigued about, okay, what does she mean?
Yeah, for example, we had Amory Johnson as a guest. We had Kimo Kamara, and Kimo said community is everything. Look at your community and find it there. And Amory said, go and listen to people who think different from you and learn from that and build and grow from there and see how what that brings you. They're two wildly different visions and perspectives.
Yeah.
And both can be true at the same time. Or sometimes you choose this and sometimes you choose that. And that has led me to realize what I believe is community is essential for growth, to recalibrate, to recharge, to create, to get new ideas, to innovate, but also to breathe and regain what you want to regain as a resource. And to learn, you want new input, you want to get challenged, you want something that's outside of your community, to innovate from that, to learn from that, to understand, to truly listen and understand from people who think or live wildly differently from you. And there's so I'm in a bubble, or you're in a bubble. That's an accusation, it's something that gets thrown around. There's good things about a bubble, and there's good things about stepping outside your bubble, and both are true. And developing that thought and talking about that came straight from having these two episodes with Kimo and with Amory back to back.
Yeah.
So thanks to them both.
Yeah, I can also see connections with Annalie and Aaron when you share this topic, right?
Yeah.
They also shared a lot, but also with Karim as well, seeing things from a different lens and experiences as well. So every conversation, it was enriching. And every conversation was enriching. And while you were talking about the bubble, I mean, the start of 2025 caused me to end up in a bubble. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into what I mean by that. But definitely community. Marjolijn is part of one of my communities as well. And having a space where you can shout, let it all out. This I recently listened to Tears for Fears, so that's why I'm talking about this. I'll make sure to share the song in the show notes as well. But
yes.
Tears for Fears came up because sometimes we need a space to just shout and be angry and show the emotions that people assume that are negative, but we need that outlet as well. We need it somewhere. And I've been shouting and letting everything out with exercising as well. And that has been very helpful.
Oh, same. Yeah. This is funny. We haven't talked about this before, but I've been in my workout. Sometimes I just go, it needs to come out. And there's something else, an experience I had recently where that's what I had that outlet, and it made all the difference.
Yeah. We need it because we don't want those emotions that, are being set loose or being activated. You don't want that in your body. So we need an outlet. whether you're happy or sad or angry or whatever emotion, we need an outlet. And too often we focus only on the happy emotions and not the sad emotions, or maybe the things that we label as negative. We don't create space for that to be there as well.
Yeah, true. It all gets to be there. I sometimes tell
Yeah,
people, hey, you don't have to make it 50-50. You can make it 80 positive, 20, rah,
exactly.
or 70-30, whatever. That's fine too. There's
Do
all
what
your,
works. Do what works for you.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's, part of what we're touching upon in this episode is connecting and checking in with yourself
Yeah,
and everything that helps you keep going
yeah,
and recharge
definitely.
and re-energize within yourself. I'm actually, you can't see this, but I'm actually, I didn't do it on purpose, but I'm realizing, even though I didn't do it on purpose, I'm holding a necklace with a very small drop shaped. It's called citrin. It's a yellow gemstone. That's one of my energy sources. It reminds
Hmm.
me of what I care about, and it's where
Yeah.
I get my energy from.
Hmm.
So that that stuff you do for yourself, that's part of this. The things you can do when you work together, like you and me, the one-on-one connection, that's another thing. And how
Send
that,
each other candles. Send each other candles. So I've sent Marjolijn some candles that are very good for healing. So sage candles
Mhm,
can be very beneficial for just saging your space or your area, or just to help you. And at the moment right now, it's closed, but I have this huge pot that has
mhm.
a candle with crystals in it as well.
Ah,
And sometimes I just put it on just as setting the tone for today. Setting the tone for today. How do I feel today? What is my intention for today? Am I going to own it? I do
mhm.
some tapping as well. That's helpful. Or going to the sauna to reset my energy as well.
Yeah.
Because we need that. We need to find things to decompress in a way that fits you.
Yeah, and one of the things that is always a part of each episode and this conversation too is, hey, what are different ideas and different ways for you, for me, for our guests to do that, to decompress
Yeah.
and to recharge? Because sometimes you need a long list and you want to use them all. On other days, you're fine with just one thing, and in some instances, you need a whole bunch of them. So
Yeah.
the richer your portfolio is of things you can bring in for yourself, the
Hmm.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then there's the richer your own community is, the one-on-one relationships that you have, connecting with different people in different ways. That's great. And then you have your wider community and your whole circle of influence, the people that
Yeah.
you are connected with in the bigger picture, including our guests. If you're not connected with them on LinkedIn, on socials, go and do that, listen to their stories, but that can be an exchange. Send them a message, say
Hmm.
what you
Yeah.
appreciate it. On all of those levels, there's a lot of resilience, and there's a lot of recharging, there's a lot of decompression, there's a lot of resources.
And also reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's not forget reflection as well, because reflection, I've gotten to know that that is a very valuable skill, especially with the work that we're doing,
Hmm.
that it's needed from time to time to reflect, okay, what worked well, what do I need to stop, and what do I need to continue, so that you keep working on yourself whilst you are an inclusive change maker to create inclusive environments as well.
No way around it. You need to
Mhm.
take responsibility, ownership, leadership on that. And you can. You're able to do that.
Yeah.
Just a reminder.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking of our next question about taking responsibility and ownership.
Go on. Tell us.
So yeah, let's dive into the different diversity, equity, and inclusion events that happened since the beginning of season 2. And let's say that the anti-DEI efforts that intensified in 2024, where several companies scaled back their DEI programs based on following some political or some public pressure, and also regarding they wanted to be risk averse when it comes to their finances. What's your thoughts on that?
The bottom line of my thought here is that, markets are volatile. Companies respond to their context, and certain things will keep going. And whether it keeps going, in this direction or that direction, in this way or that way, this will keep going. And it will show up in different ways.
Yeah.
We're creative and resourceful. And that's the thought that I choose.
Yeah.
That's the vision that I hold.
I agree with everything that you were sharing right now regarding this question, because there is so much emphasis on the companies that are walking away and deactivating their DEI initiatives, right? So let's look at Target, let's look at Walmart. McDonald's is redesigning inclusion, but some say that they are deactivating, some say not. So I'll stand somewhere in the middle. And what I've noticed is that there is so much media attention on what's happening from the US, where the current POTUS at the moment right now is claiming a war against diversity, equity, and inclusion without realizing what the impact may be, because it's not only supporting those who are marginalized from marginalized groups, and AKA only the people who have a cultural diverse background. It entails so much more. And what I don't understand is that the media is focusing only on 1 out of the 8 companies that are walking away from diversity, equity, and inclusion and ending it. To me, it's like the media is hyping up performative DEI initiatives, because majority of them all started or revamped their DEI initiatives from the moment that George Floyd died. And all of a sudden, 4 years later, they feel like it's redundant, whilst 7 out of the 8 companies in the US are still keeping DEI alive, even so that some CEOs from Davos mentioned that, yes, it's good for us, it's good for their revenue. Of course, it's good for their revenue, but it's also ethically good, and it creates inclusion and belonging in such a bigger scale that they need the current talent and they need to be able to attract future talent. And without activating DEI or rebranding DEI towards inclusion, if you're not doing that, then eventually we'll see the business case rolling out this year. But I can already share some facts that are happening for those who are deactivating their DEI initiative. So one of the facts is that John Deere is a big fabricator or a big production in the agricultural side. I think a few years or beginning of last year, 2024, they walked away from DEI. And just recently, they had a shareholders meeting where the majority of the shareholders said, we want you to activate DEI as soon as possible.
Interesting.
That also says something. It says something because I haven't looked at the shares, but it says something as well. Then on the other hand, the bigger business case that is happening right now is Target making a statement end of last year or beginning of this year, walking away from DEI. And it feels like Target is really, really feeling the impact of walking away from DEI. So the end of February in the US, they did a global walkout or non-buying day for Target, Amazon, and Walmart, and maybe other companies as well that are deactivating. But these are the 3 predominant companies that I heard a lot of. and it was a blackout. Nobody was buying anything. And out of all the three companies, Target felt it the most. Felt a huge drop in their shareholder price value, a huge drop. I'll make sure to share the links in the show notes, right? I don't know all the facts. I do know that they are true, but if you want more details, I'll make sure to share them in the show notes. But also on top of that, some communities, the Black community, but I think also the Latinx community, are doing a 40-day fast. And Target is also among that group that are experiencing a 40-day blackout fast where nobody's going to purchase within 40 days because this comes from the churches, the Black churches predominantly. They wanted to see what the impact will be because apparently their money, Black people, their money is not valuable. So that's when they said, right, we are going to do a 40-day fast. And within 2 months or 3 months after the 40-day fast, there will be a shareholders meeting. So by that time, there will be a valid business case on deactivating DEI still the way they do it now, or redesigning it towards inclusion and being a brand for all. But that's not all, because I'm talking from the perspective of those who value DEI. Target is also being targeted for those who don't value DEI. It's predominantly the part of where Target is supporting the Pride, people that celebrate the Pride, right? So a while ago, Target was also bashed for amping or highlighting Pride pieces or elements in their clothing.
Getting criticism from all sides.
So they're feeling the heat from different angles, and they will be the business case of, should we stay or should we ban?
Interesting.
DEI aspects. Yeah.
Interesting, because I do see, thought and policies being copy pasted, for example, from the US to Europe, and having a pushback here as well in different ways because it lands in a different culture. But it's similar here. There's so many more people that actually appreciate DEI efforts, DEI views, DEI principles. There's so many more. So let's see how that develops. And that is why I firmly believe this is not going to stop. This is going to find a new iteration.
It's gonna be worse. But on top of that, also, the current government in the US is also targeting companies that are, let's say, actively supporting DEI. Legally, he's not allowed. But what he is doing is creating fear, because all the things that he has done whilst the GOP, I'm not going to name certain names because I don't feel like they have value here on this podcast. So that's why I'm referring to maybe their departments. Let's say a certain person who doesn't have an official ranking, but is doing a lot of harm by firing everybody out of efficiency. It's all to create chaos and fear, because eventually a judge, a judge decided that all these layoffs are not legal. So he has to turn it back around. In the meantime, they have caused chaos. They have caused fear and anxiety. And to be honest, would you be willing to work under such leadership, which I define as toxic? I don't know what other word I can describe it, because this goes beyond traditional leadership. This is toxic leadership.
Yeah, and that plays out in lots of parts in the world. That's a global development that we're all experiencing. And it plays out in this way in the US, it plays out in other ways in other countries. If you look at Latin America, if you look at Europe, if you look at Asia and Australia, I don't know everything about every country, but there's a lot of this happening and a lot of developments going on.
And I also do want to give people hope that here in Europe we have legislation. It's not the sectional legislation as the US, but we do have legislation regarding discrimination regarding racism. We do have legislation regarding gender equality or equality in place that is part of the CSR reporting, right? That's also part of the demands of company who are on a stock in the EU that have a certain percentage of women represented in their board as well. And that in itself can also trickle down to other improvements when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Hi, I'm Vivian Acquah, the certified DEI consultant, and I would like to invite you to take your organization to the next level of understanding by collaborating with me. I specialize in helping organizations amplify their DEI initiatives and foster an inclusive environment. Reach out today to learn how I can help your organization unleash its hidden potential and create a culture of belonging.
How do you see it the longer term, 5 to 10 years in the future? What's your perspective on that?
The longer term is that this damage will take a long while. The damage that is happening in the US, but also is in a way impacting Europe and other continents as well. It will take a while to repair trust, to repair inclusion, to repair belonging. But on the other hand, what I do see is that these 7 out of the 8 companies that are still investing in DEI or diversity, equity, and inclusion, they will thrive, they will win, and you will see that in the business as well. So what I see, it will be an amazing business case, unfortunately at the expense of other people, but it will be an amazing business case on what not to do, what to do. That's what I see.
Yeah, what I'm hearing you describe is that when it gets so extreme, that also brings a lot of clarity.
Definitely.
There's a lot more that's out in the open. There's a lot more clarity, and there's a lot more, clear pros and cons, clear effects, rather than it could not be, no way around it now. This is what's happening. This is the impact of it.
Yeah. And personally, the impact on me as an individual, of course, these events are not helpful for my business. Of course, these events are going to cause a lot of people to ask questions. So I wrote a few articles about what's happening at the moment right now, but I also want to make myself clear that it's not me putting my head in the sand. I am in protection mode, because otherwise I'm very empathetic, and otherwise I will consume anything that is beyond my control. I will consume that. So from a couple of times, I did do a social media detox. I did do a media detox, because every platform, there was a lot of hate and a lot of news and fear that can amplify fear and anxiety, and it can also manifest in your body. Instead of that, I did amplify my exercising. I've lost a lot of weight, not only because of what's happening in the US, but I invest in self-care. I invest in sitting in the infrared sauna from time to time. I also will make sure to add that in the show notes as well, because as DEI change maker, you need to have a healthy self-care practice that you activate frequently, or else this work that you're doing as a DEI change maker will eat you alive.
You need to put the load down from time to time and make that a practice. Make that a routine. And that's all the more, that was already important and essential, and all the more now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, what are you curious about? What do you have to look forward to?
I'm looking forward to more hope, because in the beginning, when everything started, and I know that it's not only the US, but the US is leading for the different emotions that we feel in the rest of the world when it comes to this topic. And I see hope, but I also see opportunity for us to be strategic, go in stealth mode, be resourceful in the way that we do our work. So at the moment right now, I'm learning to become an ethical AI engineer.
What's that?
Well, there are so many AI tools that are being used for inclusive recruitment or for LMS. Yet, who is challenging the input? Who is challenging their foundation? Because if people who are underrepresented are not part of the data of these tools, then that would mean that we are copy pasting exclusion that we see in real life. We are copy pasting that in the different tools that should be used for boosting inclusion. It's still causing exclusion whilst nobody sees it.
Yeah, because of all the ground material that's used, the input. Yeah. I'd love to build on what you said right before that as well. I'm reminded of I think it was Adrienne Marie Brown who said, and it came up in our conversation with Tara this season, hope is a duty.
Yeah.
Whenever you can't find it, just remember hope is a duty, especially now. And with that, the routine around taking care of yourself, recharging, putting the load down, minding your mental well-being, your body, all of that helps you go back to that creative and resourceful state. When you're exhausted, when you're scared, when you're tired, it's hard and almost impossible for your brain to go to resourceful and to seeing the positive and to being creative and finding new ways with, well, what's here now? What can we create now? Hope is a duty. And I believe that restoring and recovering yourself to be able to be that creative side is, if not a duty, it's a routine. And it needs to be in your habit. It needs to be in your standard. I think that's essential. And I think that's very much needed. And you know, there's going to be some bad stuff that keep coming before it all gets better. This is sort of like a hygiene factor that we need right now. And that is also remembering that we're doing this together. This is a collective thing. There are other people here in this mindset, in this view, to connect with, to recharge from. This is not one person who's being hopeless. This is a whole group of people with the duty to have hope and get creative.
And also, apply your critical thinking when you see information, right? Because there's a lot of misinformation being shared and reshared on platforms that I used to deem as resourceful and very valuable. Now I am even, critical thinking everything at the moment right now. And I also want to tap into, you choose the best type of your allyship type.
Yeah, say more about that.
There are different ways of advocating, right? And in a way, I was having an internal fight of, where's your voice? Why aren't you saying this? Why aren't you saying that? But in the meantime, I was healing. I am an advocate. I am an amplifier, but sometimes you need to be an upstander. Sometimes you need to be maybe a confidant. Sometimes you choose a different role, and that whatever role that you choose, make sure that you check in with yourself. How much energy do you have to do what you can do as an ally? Because if we are activating allyship from an empty cup, guess what? It will burn you out sooner than later.
There's a book that I read recently, The 4 Agreements, with some rules to live by. And one of them is always do your best.
Yeah.
Not more, not less.
Yeah.
And what your best is something you can assess in each moment, because that might be different in each moment. Depending on how much you've slept, on how busy you are, how the brain space you have, and what you want your best to be focused on, and what the best course of action is right now. Always do your best, and not less.
Hey, are you ready to rediscover focus, clarity, and resilience?
so that you can be a stronger change maker for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. I am Marjolijn Vlug. I'm a certified coach. And whether you're getting started in DEI or are further along in your journey, I can support you to take your work to the next level. With me as your ally, you can gain clarity on your next initiatives or career goals, make intentional choices, stay accountable to them, deal with the intensity of the work, and create real change. Let's talk. I'd love to learn more about you. Reach out, book a chat.
I want to go back to different moments where I saw people using their platform, influencers or people that are in, let's say, celebrities that are using their platform for good, right? So one of them, Alicia Keys, I've shared that. I'll make sure to share that in the post notes as well. But she used her moment when she won the Dr. Dre award for the Grammys to use a moment that DEI is a gift, not a threat, and also highlighted the importance of female producers. Oftentimes we look at men, and majority in the music industry look towards men at front, but also behind the scenes. Whilst there are so many amazing women who can do the work, but are not being highlighted. So she used her moment to speak to highlight the different people that she saw as amazing people that we need to know of. And the majority of them, I didn't even know that they were producers. I know them as music artists or as celebrities, but I didn't know that they were producers. So that was an educational moment. Then Jane Fonda, I don't remember her speech, but she did say something about woke means that you give a damn about somebody else.
About other people, yeah.
Yeah, because the way the word woke has been weaponized, the same way as DEI has been weaponized. And I want to challenge you who are listening to this podcast, do a deep dive on the meaning of woke. Go to NPR. Better yet, I'll add it in the speech notes. Our show notes is going to be
Yeah.
It's going to be so loaded, but we want to make sure that you as a change maker for inclusion, for diversity, for equity, you have the resources that are valid, but also that you, when people come up to you and try to challenge you with certain things that they think are facts, but are not facts, you can at least say you have resources, you have this, you have that.
You can address it, yeah. And I love the way Jane Fonda did that. She completely reframed it.
Yeah.
From all the derogatory, connection and meaning that's been attached to it. Completely reframed it and bottom line it, boom. Yeah. Woke just means you give a damn about other people.
And Jane Fonda isn't new to this. She has been an activist from, I think, the early 70s or 60s, I don't know, but she has been an activist for so many people, so many backgrounds as well. So the fact that at her age, she's still doing what she did in the beginning of her career, it's admirable and it's courageous. And find your way of choosing your form of allyship. I also wrote an article. I've written a lot. I realize that I've written a lot, but I also wrote an article about Dolly Parton. She brought out a song in the 80s, 9 to 5. Maybe we are sharing our age, but
it's a classic. It's a classic. It's a staple.
It's a classic about gender equality and that women need to be present in the workplace, but also we need our promotion. Give us our flowers. Show us the respect. Show us that we are part and that our voices matter. And the fact that this song is unfortunately still relevant today, even where some rights are being stripped or certain bad influences are influencing young men in a way that are dehumanizing women in a way. I'll make sure to add that as well as a reference, but I'm not going to name the brothers, but I think that you can guess which brothers I'm referring to. Luckily, Spotify removed their content from their platform, but it took them a long while.
That's about time. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot going on and there will be a lot going on.
Yeah. Shall we go to the corporate commitments that are still active? Activating DEI. I can name some examples.
Yeah, please do.
So I mentioned John Deere
Mm-hmm.
in previously before, but I also want to share that at Davos, there's this huge summit that happens in January with the World Economic Forum, inviting different speakers to talk about the future of work, the future of businesses, yada yada, etc. And there were a lot of CEOs that were making, firm commitments that we're keeping DEI alive, right? So one of them was the CEO, JP Morgan Chase. Let's say that the CEO, it was interesting to see the CEO in a few weeks later talking badly about remote working, but I'm not gonna talk about that. I'm gonna talk about his commitment of why this company is still investing in DEI, because it's an investment that is paying back in the shares, in their company value, and in their revenue. Because the moment that exactly follow the money, the moment that you see the impact of DEI not being authentic or being performative or DEI being valuable, right? When DEI is valuable, all those companies are still investing in DEI. Just the same as the makeup product line e.l.f. They're doing so much when it comes to DEI that they even shared that ever since they invested in DEI, their growth rate regarding the revenue, each year, it's a huge surprise. I'll make sure to share that in the show notes as well. So there will be a lot of sharing. It's not only about the bad, it's also about what's happening for good. And like I said, John Deere came back and Costco is winning as well. So Costco was, at the end of the year or beginning of the year, Costco was challenged to walk away from DEI by the people that are anti-DEI, right? There is this guy and a group that are pursuing certain companies, and they said, well, our shareholders and we value that. And since then, Costco has seen an exponential growth, even a lot of free ads via Instagram where people are sharing their excitement of Costco and sharing why they are buying things at Costco. Costco has seen a huge growth because of this as well. So
keep going is what that means. Even when there's steps back, there will be a step forward again.
Definitely.
And there's huge power in the collective in doing things together, whether it's consumers, churches, communities.
Yeah.
And that shows up in all kinds of ways. You can use that in all kinds of ways and be creative.
Definitely.
I mean, what do you see developing here?
I'm seeing here people still, or companies still investing in diversity, equity, and inclusion, or more in the NI, so diversity and inclusion. But let's say that the budget are a little bit declining. And also the process from lead to client takes a lot longer. But I don't see people walking away or companies walking away from that. It's more of, okay, we're taking a longer pause, or we're thinking a little bit longer.
Holding back a little bit?
Yeah, because also in a way they are impacted by everything that's happening with all the additional taxes that might be activated due to what the US is doing, custom taxes.
Yeah.
And then the custom taxes that they are going to fire towards the US as well, right? So everything that this current administration is doing is impacting the whole world. I wouldn't say it in a positive way, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
We'll move through and create better from it.
Do you have any resources to share with our listeners, those who are watching? I know you do, but
well, there's a way of looking at the world that I've recently come across, that I was recommended and read. There's a collective called the Arbinger Institute, collective of authors, and they've written a number of books, and one of them is called The Anatomy of Peace. It's a fictional story basically describing a way of looking at the world and people and how people function, and how you can get out of blame, negativity, and how you can get back to seeing people as human beings, as individuals, as people, and getting back to your creative side and getting back to connective and seeing that. And also then having more patience and calm and constructive approaches when you see other people get into that total funk. And that has been hugely helpful for me.
For me as well.
Challenging situations. Yeah, I recommended it to you. And first you thought, what is this? And then you read it and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah. There's another book by the Arbinger Institute called Leadership and Self-Deception, which is a bit better known, which, it's great to read after The Anatomy of Peace. That's the order I read it in. And I think that was a great order. And it really makes a huge impact on your own resourcefulness, on your own way of getting out of, you don't see it anymore, you're negative, you're tired, you're blah, and you lash out at the people close to you, for example. You just get so cranky that it's no fun for your own family anymore. Yourself as well, caring for yourself and going back to that heart of peace. And something that's important to add before, you hear this and you think, that sounds stupid or that sounds way too zen or whatever.
It isn't.
You can go to war with a heart at peace. You can go to war with a heart at peace, and you can go for what you want and what you care about and stand for it and take no shit, and yet have a heart at peace, yet see other people as people. See yourself as creative, have a heart. You can go to war and still be kind. And I believe that is essential, because otherwise you create more of what you don't want. And this is about creating more of what we do want, and not inadvertently still creating more and emphasizing what we don't want. That matters. That matters. There is calling out a group of people or an organization for doing something wrong, and you can do that by blaming and creating more fights or flight or freeze or shutting people down. And there's a way I see, and it's not always easy, but there's a way of doing it, calling forth the creative and calling forth the creative side in other people, and the curiosity of, hey, okay, yeah, you have a point. Let's figure out how to move forward with this, rather than I'm a failure and there's nothing else to do. So either you're stupid or I'm miserable, and everything shuts down. So this is also about keeping that forward movement going, rather than shutting that down, and being mindful of that and finding the balance between accountability, truth, and yet also keep that creativity and forward movement going. And it's a good book for that.
Yes, definitely. And I also like that you recommended this book to me, and in the beginning it took me a while to embrace it, but then when the moment I read it, because it's fictional, I don't always do fictional.
And it's a flimsy story. It's not the most. It's not like deep literature in terms of story. That's not the point. So that's fine.
Yeah. So what I liked about when you were talking about, there is a part in the Anatomy of the Enemy Anatomy of Peace, because I'm now bringing two different book titles, mixing it up. The Anatomy of Peace, where they talk about it's either you see people as people or you see them as a non-playable character. And the moment that you say that was for me, yes, it is about seeing the person as the other person, where you disconnect so hard that you don't see them as a human anymore. You see them as objects. And I liked it that on top of that, whilst I read that first, your book first, and then I read Collaborating with the Enemy. That book goes well with Anatomy of Peace, where we don't always work with people that we like, trust, or know. And we enemify them based upon our biases, based upon our life experiences, based upon our work experience, based upon what we know. But how about when we open ourselves up for the other person? And one of the things that this book talks about is listening to each other, active listening, but also having empathy for the other person, right? Ever since doing this work, I mean, I've always been a person who is empathetic, but doing this work is asking a lot more empathy from me than using a virtual reality tool that can also unlock empathy or can amplify empathy. It's well aligned with the book. And I'm currently also in the book club for sharing ideas about this book for the version number 2, because version number 2 is going to come out at the end of the year, somewhere November, December. And really excited about how they are going to add also examples of how do you collaborate with the enemy, or it's more, yes, the title will still be the same, but it will be more the focus of collaborating with the other instead of the enemy.
Ooh, that's quite a switch.
It is a switch. It's definitely a switch. I know the author mentioned that, yes, the title, it's a title to attract, people to read or be curious to read. But he wants to walk away from labeling people as enemy, but is activating the enemifying syndrome within the book.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting as a way to describe what's going on, and yet, using that word creates more of what you don't want. So
yeah, exactly.
How do we reframe that? There's and I was just looking that up as you were talking. I just bought a book this weekend, and I've only just started it. It's called "We Were Made for These Times."
Okay, by who?
By Kyra Jewel-Lingo. She is a multiracial American who's lived in various places in Africa, I believe, and who became a Buddhist nun for quite a time in her life. And what I pick up from it is that she is extremely good at, and therefore also a resource for us, of staying mindful and keep going back to that, hey, here's another person and not the enemy.
Yeah. So can you repeat the title of the book again?
Yeah, so the title is "We Were Made for These Times, 10 Lessons for Moving Through Change, Loss and Disruption" by Kyra Jewel-Lingo. And the quote, the actual phrase "we were made for these times" is from an essay by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. So that's where she picked it up from that article. We were made for these times. It is in times of dragons when dragon slayers are born. So get yourself to being a dragon slayer, including all the restorative pieces that you need.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll make sure to add that on my book thing.
Yeah, it's super fresh. I just on Saturday, started reading it yesterday. So this just in.
Yeah, definitely. So I've been looking into reading more using the audiobook and accompany more audiobooks. That I'm also thinking about setting up a book club, because sometimes it helps to have some kind of accountability when it comes to reading, but also how do you read and reflect and consume the different information. So when you are interested in maybe, becoming part of this book club, there will be an investment, but know that it will be a low investment. When you want to join and, join other people, let me know or let us know so that we can set something up, because has been brewing for quite a while.
That's community, connection, commitment.
Yeah. But also leveling up and being in a safe space where you could have, courageous conversations about the topics that we just discussed, right? Or even relevant career topics. So I'm just letting this brew, letting it marinate, so that it can simmer and settle down. And last resource, the Amplify DEI cards are very relevant, whether you want to invest in it for your personal journey, right? So they already have a self card deck for the personal journey or for personal journeys with family and friends or loved ones. And there are the Amplify DEI cards for teams, where you can create your own specific inclusion recipe together with your team members. Ask thought-provoking questions that are needed to define your own recipe.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you created them with a lot of knowledge, with a lot of heart, and a good dose of spice. This is not a bland type of thing. This is a memorable dish. Whichever you pick from the menu that is included. Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, I what I appreciate about our conversation today is, we talk about the things that are happening in the world right now. We talk about practical, pragmatic implications of that, and we also go deep. And that's all available here.
It's a fully packed episode, but it's needed given today's climate at the moment right now.
Yeah. So this is going to come out soon. Time between recording and publication is quite fast, and I can't wait to get to share this.
Yeah. I have one final thing to share, and that is the song by Andra Day, Rise Up, because that's needed. I feel like this song is uplifting, but it's also hopeful, and for me, it's food for my soul when I listen to it. So Rise Up.
I play it almost every day nowadays.
Yeah. You know that song?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, awesome.
So everyone go to the show notes. There's so much there. Enjoy. Get in touch. Connection matters. And see you next season.
Yes, next season, season 3, where we, in the meantime, will be brewing, looking at the different guest speakers that we want to invite for the conversation, but also talking about meaningful topics related to diversity, equity, and inclusion to help you as a change maker for inclusion to level up.
Yeah, with a wide range of people to listen to, learn from, and pick up new ideas and inspiration from.
Until next time.
See you there.
Thank you for listening. You're warmly invited to pause for a moment and think about what stood out to you from this conversation. Please share this episode with others to inspire them too. Make sure to subscribe to our Substack channel. We'll be back soon with more episodes. Be well, take care, and stay connected.